Welcome to week 2 of mindful stress management in our workshop. So week 2 is tough. Week 1 had a lot of concept to read through as well, but week 2 is tough for a different reason, and it's titled stress. So we review all the different sources of stress, which tends to stress people out, and you can simply almost watch people in the room in the workshop having their shoulders go up as we talk about all the different sources of stress. So I'll spare you a complete list of all of that now, but I'd like to put in a few ideas, plant a few seeds for coping and building resilience and the capacity to even talk and think and read through the handout, which I highly encourage you to do. Mindfulness exercise is stress management. It prevents stresses from happening. It dampens the intensity of the stress response, and it shortens the length of the stress response in so many different ways. So mindfulness basically is stress management. And it plays, if you go through the workshop and you actually practice for the 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day, which is the ask, that's the big ask. And it's easy to do if you follow a guided meditation. So I strongly, highly encourage you to follow a guided meditation on a daily basis. Just create a routine, a habit for 2 months, and see if your life has changed after you've done that. So resilience is the ability to bounce back, and it's basically something that happens in physics with structures of bridges, etc. But it also is something that happens physiologically within all living systems. Resilience is homeostasis. Resilience basically is a balancing act. And so when things start going too far in one direction, our homeostatic systems bring them back into line. So, this is a goal-directed system, and it's the minimal definition for an intelligent system. And that's my son in the basement talking on a video game. So what I'd like to say here is that if you think stress is good for you, then it is good for you. If you think stress is bad for you, then it is bad for you. You have to have an optimistic attitude. So here's 4 or 5 different tips for even starting to talk about stress. And one is to have a mindset of thinking that stress is good for you. That if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger, kind of an idea. But it also generates enough energy and capacity to respond appropriately to the situation. There's sort of a U-shaped curve for stress, so that as the stress increases, your performance increases. But when the stress gets too high, performance falls off. So it's an upside down U, and there's an optimal level of activation of stress in order to perform. Actors know these things. Generally speaking, all of this stress responding is about providing some sort of a context for adapting. We have these stress responses because our ancestors had these stress responses and they survived. It helped them cope with the adversities of their physical environments, as well as psychological. So adverse childhood experiences are profound chronic stressors, and they provide risk for all kinds of chronic diseases throughout life. If you stack 7 of these on top of each other for one individual, it can shorten the life. It's expected to shorten their life by 20 years. So trauma as a child, which I'm familiar with, is something that you can learn to deal with better by developing these mindfulness skills. PTSD is another example of a chronic stressor.